Cairo, Beginnings and the Meet in Cairo. 1921. A city alive with the sounds of prayers and bustling markets, where the glimmer of gold shimmered alongside the dust of the streets. In the heart of this blend of faith and chaos, the boundaries between communities were carefully observed. Omar Al-Hassan, heir to one of Egypt's most influential families, was a man shaped by Islamic tradition. Surrounded by rules, sacred texts, and high expectations, he had grown into a position of respect. At 29, he was engaged to Sarah, the daughter of a devout Muslim judge. One day, while overseeing construction in the Coptic neighborhood, Omar was caught in a sudden sandstorm. Seeking refuge, he entered a small calligraphy shop. Behind him, his assistant Karim, an older and calm man, followed in accordance with tradition. The shop was simple, filled with the scent of ink and parchment. Inside, a young woman delicately cleaned the pages of an ancient manuscript. Her name was Layla Nader, daughter of a Christian scribe. She offered Omar shelter and a glass of water. He thanked her politely. Karim stayed close by, observing silently and respectfully. Their conversation was brief, limited to the weather and manuscripts. Yet, when Omar left, he felt an unusual curiosity, not improper desire, but genuine fascination with the calm and composed young woman. That night, lying in his room, he found himself wondering about her and why the quiet sound of her voice lingered in his mind even after the prayers had ended. Over the following days, Omar tried to suppress these thoughts, but the memory of the shop and her words continued to reappear among his prayers and studies. A week later, he found an excuse to return to the Coptic neighborhood. This time he brought two men, Karim and Jusf, the family scribe. He said he wished to commission a copy of an ancient sacred text. Layla received him with the same calm composure. Jusf examined scrolls and Karim remained by the door. As usual, Omar asked questions about writing styles, inks, and papyrus. Layla responded with confidence, explaining patiently, no gestures beyond what is permitted, no intimate exchanges, only respect between different worlds. Yet each word stirred something inside Omar. A sense of shared understanding, the love for books and wisdom that transcended religious differences. When he left the shop, he took the manuscript and carried with him a quiet unease that lingered until dawn. Work, respect, and boundaries, Omar's visits became frequent. He always came accompanied, sometimes by Karim, sometimes by two young servants, ensuring propriety. Yet rumors began to circulate. To justify her presence, Omar invited Layla to work in his library as a manuscript restorer. She hesitated, aware of what working for a wealthy Muslim family meant, especially as a Christian. Her father, already ill, encouraged her, assuring her that the job would bring honor and livelihood. Layla accepted on the condition that her younger brother Elias could accompany her daily, which was agreed upon. Thus, she and Elias began frequenting the Al-Hassan household, always under the watchful eyes of the servants and Karim. Omar never spoke to her if another man was present, which made their interactions brief, measured, yet paradoxically more intense. Omar continued his routine of negotiations and construction projects in Cairo, but since Layla had begun overseeing manuscript transcriptions and correspondence with European collectors, the household had taken on a new rhythm. Layla was not only diligent, but also possessed a sharp, calm, and surprisingly modern mind for a woman of her faith and social standing. At first, her presence was discreet. She spoke only when addressed, kept her gaze low, and rarely smiled. Omar was always accompanied by Abdul, his loyal assistant and interpreter, who never left the office. A strict rule: a single man and a single woman should never be alone. Omar honored every tradition of his religion. One stifling June afternoon, a sandstorm rose on the horizon. The Al-Hassan mansion shook under the wind, howling through window cracks. Abdul and the two servants rushed to secure the courtyard, preventing curtains from being torn down and ancient vases from toppling. Layla remained behind, reviewing documents Omar needed to sign before sunset, absorbed in a report on the textile trade. Neither noticed at first that the house had emptied. When silence fell, they looked up simultaneously. The curtains fluttered, and papers danced across the table. Layla adjusted her headscarf, partially covering her hair. Omar turned away out of respect, yet for a brief instant, his heart betrayed his composure. He bent to pick up a fallen parchment, and the delicate fabric of her dress brushed against his robe. Just a second, but enough for both to realize with surprise and discomfort that they were alone. Layla stepped back, murmuring an apology. Omar maintained a serious expression, attempting formality, but no words came. The dense silence spoke louder than any sacred verse. Trust, growth, and collaboration. After the storm, normal routines resumed. Omar resumed his measured tone and Layla kept her reserved demeanor. Neither mentioned the incident, yet an invisible tension had shifted between them. Layla began arriving earlier and leaving later. Her work became essential, mastering ancient languages, deciphering contracts and letters that others could not understand. Abdul, attending all meetings, noticed the trust Omar placed in Layla. Even older family members remarked, "The Christian girl has brought prosperity to the master as business." One afternoon, a French merchant visited. They needed to negotiate the sale of a 14th-century tapestry, and only Layla could translate the original letter. Omar asked her to stay during the meeting, unusual for him, and out of respect, Abdul remained as well. Layla spoke with clarity and firmness, impressing the foreign visitor, who commented he had never seen such intelligence in someone so young. Omar acknowledged briefly but followed her with his eyes as she left with the documents. It was in that moment Omar realized something within him had changed. He didn't know what it was nor did he want to name it, but he began noticing details previously overlooked. The tilt of her head while reading, the hidden smile when praised, the steady gaze even when she was correct. While walking through the garden, Omar reflected on her words to the French visitor. Truth does not need loud voices, only clarity. His faith had taught him that certain boundaries must never be crossed, but his heart quietly questioned why so many barriers existed between two human beings. Conflict, loss, and responsibility. Months passed. Layla's role expanded beyond translation, reviewing contracts, organizing inventories, and mediating correspondence with other merchants. Omar, usually strict and demanding, began listening carefully to her opinions, something he rarely did even with his own advisors. Abdul continued attending meetings, noticing the calming influence of Layla's presence. Then came troubling news. Layla's father grew sicker. Omar learned of this, showing concern but maintaining composure. A few days later, her father passed away. Omar, without consulting anyone, took responsibility for the funeral expenses, ensuring it was simple yet dignified according to Christian rites. He sent flowers, candles, and even prepared the coffin himself. Abdul warned, "This will not be well received," Omar replied. "Sometimes what is right is not what is convenient." Omar attended the funeral personally, dressed in dark robes, maintaining a serious expression. Some relatives looked astonished. A Muslim attending a Christian funeral was almost unthinkable. Yet Omar cared little. He respected the rituals and stayed quietly aside. Layla saw him from a distance, her eyes filled with tears, offering a subtle nod. Omar tilted his head in response. At that moment, amidst prayers in a foreign tongue, he felt a profound mixture of peace and sorrow, understanding that faith in its many forms was simply another path to the same sky. Union, partnership, and harmony. 2 weeks passed since the funeral. The Al-Hassan house, once vibrant with discussions and servant activity, now felt quiet. Omar maintained a serene expression, but all could notice a change within him. He spent longer in prayer, worked less, and often stared at manuscripts that Layla had organized before leaving. One gray morning, Abdul announced, "Sir, Miss Layla has returned." Omar looked up but kept his voice calm. "Invite her in." Layla entered, wearing black mourning attire, tired eyes visible. She greeted him respectfully and spoke softly. "I am here to thank you for all you did for my father. The town spoke of it." The funeral was dignified, and my family will never forget. Omar replied simply, "Your father deserved it." A brief silence followed. Abdul observed, recognizing the weight of the moment. Omar glanced at the documents and, masking his interest, said, "You have much work." "The Northern Trade Department has sent new documents." Layla nodded, hands slightly trembling as she approached to collect the papers. Omar noticed and subtly extended his hand to assist, their fingers almost touching, a silent acknowledgement of mutual respect. The days passed, with Layla returning diligently. The bond between them deepened not through words, but understanding, patience, and shared responsibility. Omar valued her insight, and she seemed to grasp his thoughts before he spoke. Omar's engagement with Sarah and his family created tension. Yet, Layla's dedication, intelligence, and quiet influence reshaped the household and business, bridging differences of faith and culture. Their love, respectful and restrained, eventually culminated in marriage. The ceremony respected traditions, yet celebrated a union born of understanding and honor. After marriage, Layla continued working alongside Omar, reorganizing documents, managing contracts, and contributing ideas that transformed the business. Together, they demonstrated that love, faith, and respect can overcome societal, cultural, and religious boundaries. Omar and Layla's story became a symbol of partnership, equality, and the possibility of harmony between different worlds. In the heart of Egypt, amid the eternal sands and calls to prayer, two souls from different faiths discovered a shared path, one of respect, duty, love, and the enduring power of humanity.